We're sitting down with Dave with Surf City Blinds today to hear more about his business, hear about his very sudden move and decision to move to this area, and how he works and supports our local community here in Surf City, North Carolina. Dave, thanks so much for sitting down with us today.
That's anytime. Glad to be here.
Good. Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about you and your company, Surf City Blinds. So before we get into the business side, can you tell us just a little bit about where you're from and what brought you to this area?
So myself and Audra, my wife, we owned a business that did blinds up in Boston for about 10, 12 years before this. And we were tired of cold winters. We were tired of high taxes and prices of everything going through the roof. And we're like, let's start to slow down a little bit. So let's move south. And it was April before last, April vacation. We had never been to this area before. We got into a car. My son was in April school break, and my in-laws asked if they could come with us. And we drove down here to stay in Wilmington for 3 to 4 days, and we bought a house. And God. Literally, we were looking at communities along 17 in the Hampstead area, and I was like, that Surf City seems pretty nice. Let's go see what that beach is about. And as we were driving down, I saw a community, Magnolia Reserve on the right, and didn't know anything about it. I was like, that looks pretty nice. And we saw that on the last day of our visit. And we called our real estate agent. She, the following day, toured a couple houses via Zoom for us. And we bought a house sight unseen. Wow. And then I went into selling my business, a house up there, and consolidating everything to move down here for the end of the summer.
Wow. And so you got here this end of summer?
Last August. We came in just like 2 weeks before school started, so to get my youngest really acclimated and to get to know kids in the neighborhood before school started.
And do you regret that decision at all?
Not at all.
Would you change anything about it?
Nope. Absolutely love it. We love the neighborhood community. We like getting out with the neighbors and talking with them and having tons of kids around playing. That's what we came from, and that's what we really like. So, and I mean, I was saying earlier today, it was pouring rain yesterday, and today it's 80 degrees and beautiful. Yeah. And I love that weather.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Magnolia Reserve is a great neighborhood. So when was the plan always to open your own business here when you guys decided kind of very quickly to move here?
We did. We had done, when I first decided to come right here, and then we got into the car, we looked at the area and I was just like, they are building like crazy. And I did a little market research, and it said that 2 of the fastest growing counties in the country are Pender and Brunswick. And I was like, well, if we're right in the middle of it, then that looks a perfect place. And when you search online, the number of new construction, it's not like I'm up in Boston where my old house was built in 1842. And there's nothing like that down here. It's all new communities going up. Yeah. And beauty is everyone needs window treatments, and no one ever thinks about it until you've moved in and you're walking around in your house and you're like, everybody can see me. So I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah. Now, and so this is a good time to kind of introduce Surf City Blinds. So can you just tell us a quick intro to your business and what you do?
So Surf City Blinds, we make it as easy as humanly possible. I love to tell my clients, I'm not a salesman by any sense of the mean. We're the owners. And I like to also joke, if you didn't speak to me or my wife, you didn't talk to Surf City Blinds. We're the only 2 employees. We want to keep our overhead as low. We don't have a showroom. We do everything in home to keep our expenses low, and we can pass that directly on to our customers. And the best thing that I say is my job, I tell people I educate. I just educate on what you're looking for. So when you look at a window, and if it's not an energy efficiency issue, a privacy, light control, or aesthetics, there's no reason to cover that window. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a house, people wanting to cover a certain window, and when I say that, they're like, that kind of makes sense. And my reply is simple. I was like, I've always taught myself to believe in you can't unspend money. So I'd much rather do what needs to be done, live in a property and then find out if I had to put something on there to add it on, than to put a window treatment on there and realize I'm never going to use it. Funny story is my wife, this is during the pandemic, we had over our kitchen sink, we had a window, and she wanted to put something in it. Looked over our beautiful backyard. There was no privacy issue. It was just a window that I normally wouldn't put anything on, but we put a motorized shade on it because it's up high and she can't reach it. So during the pandemic, when supply chains were all backed up, we went out and I had a client who had that motor break, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, the supply chain is down. It could take months, but let me do this. Let me take the motor out of the blind over my kitchen and I'll insert it into yours for you. And then when the motor comes in, we'll swap it. So I did that. A few months goes by. It turns into 5 months. We finally get that shade, the motor in. I bring it over to the house. I swap it out. I go back. I'm in my own house putting the motor in the shade. And my wife says, Audrey goes, what are you doing? I was like, I'm putting the motor in the shade. It's been 5 months. There's been this shade hasn't been able to go up and down. And she goes, oh. I was like, that was my point. She had never put the shade up and down.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, we put a motorized shade for something that we never used.
Yeah.
So I always tell my clients, I use that funny story. Like, think about that type of stuff. To whether you actually need a shade for it, as opposed to a lot of companies out there where you're dealing with a salesperson. They just want to sell you something and then take that commission and move on. And I don't believe in doing stuff that way.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, well, it's clear you love being genuine with people and doing things the right way. So can you get into kind of some of like the more popular products you have or services you provide besides maybe just blinds? So
one of the things that I also tell my clients is, you're really not even buying a product from us, you're buying a service. And that service includes us coming into your home and giving you decoration, some like a nice advice, whether it be for the aesthetics or the functionality of the shade. We'll give you our opinion for what you should put on that window. But we also down here, we deal with a lot of HOAs that require things like these 2-inch forwards here. And that's a very common product down here, as opposed to up north where it's a lot of energy efficiency. But I like to, again, educate my clients that, talk to your HOA, see if you can put something energy efficient, like a cellular shade that has the functionality of moving from the top to the bottom, because that will end up giving you energy efficiency. So instead of keeping the hot inside your house, you can keep the cold inside your house, because it gets really hot down here in the summer times. When you're running your AC, the windows are just sucking all that cool right out, and they're actually acting like a magnifying glass. When the sun's hitting them, it's heating up your house. So using an energy efficient shade is great. The other thing that those types of shades, a beautiful cellular will do, is it allows you to cover just the bottom half of the window. So take a bathroom, for instance. The privacy factor is the lower half of the window, and you want to have privacy on the lower half, but allow the sunlight and have a nice view out the top. So at the top down, bottom up cellular, that's very easy to do. Same thing with family dining rooms in the front of the house. You can be eating in there, and especially with all these communities down here where everyone likes to be outside and walking and nicing, you can have the privacy in your dining room while still having a nice view out the top side of the window.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as a 2-person operation, I'm sure you wear a lot of hats. What does kind of your day-to-day entail?
So Audra is awesome in the office. She loves, I do not like computers, period. I'm not good with them. She does everything with dealing with vendors, talking to them on the phone, returning emails, everything that has to do with the computer in the office, the bookkeeping, which she's so OCD with her QuickBooks and keeping everything in perfect order and tracking all the inventory when it ships out, when it's going to get here, scheduling everything. I'm great at going out, talking to people, meeting people. I can walk up to anyone on the street and strike up a conversation. And always find some common ground. So that's what I'm really good at. And I have a good hands-on knowledge. So I do every installation myself. We do usually, for bigger jobs, it will be both me and Audra coming to the house, where I'll carry the boxes in, she'll start laying them all out, and then we can whip right through. But as a general rule, she likes to stay in the office. I like to be in the field. And I also love doing stuff like this and going out networking groups, going out and just meeting new people.
Yeah. That's awesome. So how, you talked a little bit about loving this community and really not regretting like making the very quick decision to uproot your family and move here. But what do you think is like special to you about this area, or like what are some of your all's favorite things to do?
So I love the beach. I absolutely love the beach. I went to Massachusetts Maritime Academy for college. Of cross the equator, of sailed across the Atlantic. I have always lived really close to the water. Currently, right now, our house is, I think, about 1.5 miles from the water. That's the furthest I've ever actually lived from the ocean. So we love going to the beach. We love warm weather. But I think most of all, I just love the community atmosphere. One of the things I did notice, and everyone said like, oh, you're moving to North Carolina, what do you think? And I don't even feel like I'm an odd person out, because everyone in my neighborhood had the same thought process as we did. It's all people who are moving from different parts of the country and that are forming that nice community. And I love being a point of reference for them. I love, like, when someone called up and said, oh, I'm having an issue with my garbage disposal. I was like, oh, I know this guy over in Turtle Creek. He's a plumber. Gladly give him a call for you. Or people with an electrical issue. I want to put more outlets in my garage. Like, that's great. I know this guy. He lives 6 houses over from me. Let me give you his number. Let's go over and take care of it. Because I love being able to have a close network of people that I can rely on and refer out as if I'm referring out a family member.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And yeah, definitely I can feel like how genuine you are with people in our area. And so if someone's watching who maybe wants to like open a small business, what advice would you have for someone who's looking to like get into and open a small business?
I would say it's a phenomenal idea to do. And the first thing I would literally do is I would go to Cape Fear Community College, where they have the Small Business Association there. Then they have the workrooms, and they have instructors there that will literally help you guide you into, help you with doing demographics for what that business can actually do, help you write your business plan, put everything together, and really put you on the right track. I know when I started my first business, it was a franchise, and I did that for one main reason. They had a blueprint that if I followed that blueprint, I could be successful. Then when I came down here, realized I don't need to be a franchise anymore because we've learned anything. But I see the community that's helping small business down here is so interconnected, and it's so great that I probably would have felt comfortable. Like, take my 20-year-old son who's still up in Boston studying to be an electrician, and I'm pushing him. I was like, come down here, because you could start a great electrical business and get all the guidance you need, either through us or through these great outreach programs that are doing that. So I said go for it.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming in and allowing us to pick your brain a little bit, and thanks for sharing about your business and for everything you do here locally.
Yep, we love it, and we can't wait to be a part of this community for a long, long time.
Very cool. Thanks, Dave.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in with us today. We love sitting down and learning more about small businesses in our area and sharing what they do. And please reach out to Dave and his wife for all of your window covering needs. Please follow our YouTube channel and follow us on social media for future small business spotlights.